Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us for the Spring 2018 semester's fourth and final edition of LTV News. On today's program, we'll be talking to the winners of the Mayo Business Plan Competition and taking a closer look at the Day to End Rape Culture and TCNJ Administrator's Diversity and Inclusion event. Stay with us. From Kendall Hall, I'm Kelsey Haynes. Let's get started. On April 17th, TCNJ administrators were notified that radical religious group Bible Believers would be returning to campus for another display of hatred and bigotry. After initially drawing a crowd of hundreds of students during their first visit to the college, on April 12th, the initial demonstration in Alumni Grove led students to wave and hang their LGBTQ pride flags, chant loudly to drown out the protesters' words, and blast music such as John Lennon's Imagine to show unity. Upon Bible Believers' return on April 18th, the group was greeted with a less uproarious counter-protest by the college community. Instead, the administration celebrated TCNJ's commitment to diversity at Quimby's Prairie with a They Go Low, We Go High inclusivity event, the title of which comes from Michelle Obama's 2016 Democratic National Convention speech. Representatives from student organizations, including TCNJ Barcata, PRISM, Black Student Union, and more, took to the single mic standing in front of Green Hall's main entrance and spoke about their reaction and feelings toward the initial Bible Believers protest and day-to-day experiences to an attentive and considerate crowd. The event gave students a platform to talk about intolerance towards people because of their race, sexual orientation, and gender, and served as a learning session for those whose life experiences differ. After a moment of silence, any TCNJ student was invited to come up on the stairs and use the platform provided to share their thoughts, while attendees crowded around a large When They Go Low, We Go High banner from Student Government and the Office of Student Affairs, which further reinforced the idea of acceptance on TCNJ's campus. LTV News was on the scene to capture footage, so check out some highlights from the event.
Thank you all, first of all, for coming out today to be here in solidarity with all of student government, administrators, faculty, and staff, and the student body.
Today is a day of celebration of what we aspire to become. It is also a painful acknowledgement of what we have left to achieve. If we are Christian in America, we cannot know what it is like to be profiled at the airport simply because we wear a hijab. Perhaps we cannot know. Perhaps we cannot fully empathize, but we can listen and we can open our hearts.
On campus, I haven't been privy to many such open displays of distaste for the LGBT community, but it's not uncommon for folks to say things like, "That's so gay," or for people just to believe that these types of things don't happen here. That's not true, and I know that the people I spend my time with have put me in a bubble.
We have experienced ignorance, and it has made us question if this is a safe place on campus. But after seeing this today, I can say that this is a supportive campus.
We're all here not because we hate the people that are at the doors. We are here because we love each other and ourselves. And that is what matters the most.
Those who are ignorant enough and don't want to learn and don't want to hear you out, when they go low, we go. Thank you, TCNJ.
On Wednesday, April 4th, 2018, the Mayo Business Competition held its final round at the Mayo Concert Hall. Every year, the competition asks interested TCNJ students from any major to develop a viable business plan. The stakes were high with $30,000 on the line, but Jacob Boyle, a junior mechanical engineering student, and Ryan Chu, a junior accounting student, didn't let the pressure get to them and were declared the winners. The robot Marco, which stands for Mentally Assistive Robotic Companion, is a therapy robot for those with mental illnesses, and it wowed the judges. The second and third place teams, Our Tsunami and Sneaker Creatures, didn't walk away empty-handed, however, as they were rewarded with $10,000 and $20,000 respectively. Ryan, Jacob, and Marco came into the studio to talk about the competition, their business, and what we can expect from Marco in the future. Our own Shrish Jawadawar has more.
Thanks, Kelsey. I'm LTV News correspondent Shrish Jawadawar, and I'm here with TCNJ juniors Ryan Chu and Jacob Boyle, the winners of the Mayo Business Competition. Today, we'll learn a little bit about their creation, Marco. So Ryan and Jacob, welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thanks, Rush.
So, first question, where did you learn about the Mayo Business Competition?
So I'm a business student, and it's heavily marketed around the business school. And actually, one of my professors I had last year helped the team win last year, so I approached him and asked if he would help advise us, which he said he would. So then I spread the news around to Jake, who's actually on the fencing team with me, and we partnered up through that.
And so now tell me a little bit about, this is Marco,
So
and what he's programmed to do.
Marco, its name is an acronym which stands for the Mentally Assistive Robotic Companion. It's a therapeutic device designed for individuals suffering from a range of mental illnesses with a main focus on anxiety, depression, and bipolar-based disorders. Marco is programmed to deliver care to these individuals and treatment, and to act as a middleman between caretakers and their patients by doing things such as employing guided meditation techniques, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is commonly thought of as talk therapy, as well as being a companion and a friendly social providing friendly social interaction, reading pulse and reading stress levels and sleeping and eating patterns to check in on a patient's health, and texting and sending messages to emergency personnel if there's a high alert situation.
As a follow-up to that, how long did it take you to come up with the idea, and how did you program him?
So the idea started, we spent several months brainstorming of what we wanted to do for the competition after Ryan first approached me. And it was about mid-October that this idea came up for a robot for individuals with mental illnesses. And so after that, we then decided to pursue that as our product, and it's been ongoing since October of development. It was built by about December, January, and then it's ongoing programming ever since.
Describe the preparation in preparing your presentation for the Mayo Business Plan finals and competing against the other two businesses, which were Our Tsunami and Sneaker Creatures.
Preparation. So honestly, it was quite the journey, Trish. Initially 19 teams did this competition. So we first submitted our first business plan, and that 19 was cut down to 6. And then for semifinals, we had to resubmit our business plan and then do a presentation in front of a panel of judges. And after that, went down to 3. And then finally, the finals was us, Our Tsunami, and Sneaker Creatures, where we resubmitted our plan the final time and presented to everyone in the Mayo Concert Hall. So also speaking about the other teams, Our Tsunami, the 3 members out of them were actually part of my business frat, DSP, so we kind of had some friendly competition here and there between them.
We got a lot of support from Lorraine Allen and Carla Falone of the Small Business Development Center here, and they served mostly Lorraine Allen as our primary coaches and mentors. We also met with Sean O'Grady to help with our presentation, and so even though, of course, we put a lot of work in, we really wouldn't have made it without them.
Now, Ryan, I heard that Governor Phil Murphy called you after you won. What was that like, and what did he say?
All right, so on that weekend, I was actually going on a trip to Tennessee, so I was kind of crammed in like a 12-person van, so it was kind of like, squishy and all, if you will. So then, I'm in the back of the van, I get a call, I'm like, it's probably a telemarketer, so pick up my phone, I'm like, hey, who's this? He's like, Ryan Chu? I'm like, yeah, who's speaking? Governor Murphy. I kind of pause, I'm like, kind of recompose myself, and I'm like, how's it going, Governor? Anyway, so then the governor was just like, we love your idea, we think it's a home run of an idea, and it's really great, I hope you pursue it. He's actually interested in meeting Marco in the future at some point.
Okay.
And me and Jake are going to attend a mental health walk on May 6th, sponsored by the National Alliance of Mental Illness. So the governor might actually stop by at that meeting to meet Marco and meet me and Jacob.
You have won $30,000 for winning the Mayo Business Competition. What do you plan to do with the money?
Well, we have kind of like a structured timeline where we're going to have certain expenses at a certain time. But initially, I think first thing we're going to do is reimburse ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe go out for a nice dinner or something. I'm not sure. But then we have, I think we're going to use most of our money, maybe not most, but like a good portion towards a patent and getting all that protection. Because as we go to more mental health conferences and meet more vendors and all, like getting a patent is going to be very important for making sure no one can kind of interfere with Marco and our company.
We do plan to take the money and continue with Marco to develop it into a full product and bring it out into the real world beyond just this competition. And I will be using Marco as my senior project for the School of Engineering, and the money will also go to developing more units and improving and updating it and hiring other software developers and so forth to get this into a market-ready state as soon as possible.
So, could you give us a little demonstration of Marco here?
Sure. Marco, could you tell us a joke?
My sister told me I can't make a car out of spaghetti. You should have seen the look on her face when I drove pasta.
That's Marco's favorite joke. He always tells that one.
Every time. If we wanted to get into something a bit more serious, one of the treatment options he can do is guided meditation. So if I say, Marco, let's meditate.
Okay, I will start the meditation now.
He can go through playing soothing lights and images to help draw in a patient who's supposed to be doing a guided meditation routine and give them stimulation. Okay, stop.
Okay, I will end the meditation now.
All right, thank you guys so much for your time and coming to the studio. Back to you, Kelsey.
The Office of Anti-Violence Initiatives, or AVI as commonly known, held its annual Day to End Rape Culture event on April 10th. Members of the organization, general students, and staff set up tables, trifolds, and mini exhibits in the Education Building Room 212 and led interactive presentations to attendees about rape culture and the steps that can be taken both on campus and in the larger world to prevent it. AVI provides free confidential counseling, advocacy, and educational programs to the TCNJ community, seeking to make TCNJ a safer community by talking about power-based personal violence. The victim support specialist intern with AVI, Maggie Lepper, told LTV, quote, "There's obviously this huge epidemic of sexual violence on college campuses, and with the statistics so high, it is probable that there are people in your life that have been affected by violence, and the more that you know about how to support them and dismantle the culture that normalizes this violence, the more you can do to be a better friend to that person," end quote. Another AVI worker, TCNJ junior Surbi Chawla, worked on the presentation regarding the recent Me Too movement. She said, quote, "I think by coming out to this event, students can gain a lot of knowledge about how everyday things that they may be aware of and may be seeing shouldn't be normalized, and that they can do a lot of things to help make the world a lot safer for people who suffer from the effects of rape culture," end quote. Other presentations included affirmative consent, healthy sexuality, and sexual violence in the digital age. That does it for our final edition of LTV News for spring 2018. Thanks for tuning in with us for this semester. We'll be back in the fall with even more interviews and coverage of campus events and stories. If you're interested in joining LTV, email us at ltv@tcnj.edu and be sure to find our pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. From all of us here at Lions Television, I'm Kelsey Haynes. See you next time.